Oh, hi there. Bad jobs. You've probably had at least one in your life. Most artists spend years dreaming about the day that they can finally leave their day jobs. Hi, my name is Pharaoh. I am a solo game developer and haunted plush. If you've ever had a bad job, you know that its imposition on your time doesn't end when you go back home. Bad jobs exhaust you. They stress you out. You end up having to deal with the job far after you clock out. What if there was a game where you had to deal with a job that just kept getting worse and worse?
Get back to work, Pharaoh.
Oh, sorry. When I started this project, it was my goal to finish it in a week. And I was able to succeed in that goal, working on it from the 11th of September to the 18th. The original idea for the game came a while back while I was talking to a friend. Basically, it's roguelike Sims paired with the floor layout as build expression of its happenings played up, deciding what furniture you'll get and where to place it to help you better deal with how drained you are after an increasingly terrible job. Now, this original idea would be impossible to do in a week. So the first thing I actually had to do with this project is start lowering the scope. I wouldn't really have time to draw a bunch of different furniture sprites, so I ended up removing the build section from the original idea. This also means we can't do the played up style of floor layout as build, because there will be no way to change the floor layout. I'll end up tackling this issue later on. With the mechanics brought down a bit, I also decided to make this a single screen game, so no transitions or moving camera. With those restrictions in mind, let's start drawing. So this is the art from my game. You can see it's already started partially. The first day I sketched this, I hadn't decided on making the video yet. And you can see I kind of botched the recording. I only have the top 2/3 of my screen. So we'll see how it is. So the sketch is in 3 colors. The back color is the background right here, which we will start with first. So I don't have a lot of guides here, just a few ruler lines. I'm trying to just make the background for this sort of shabby apartment. You can see me making the door right there. Yeah, I try to, you can see me try to put insulation there. I'm just trying to make this look dark and shabby and dull and, you know, kind of bad. I imagine this is sort of like a basement apartment, very like dim, poorly maintained, that kind of stuff. You can see me burying the apartment with the background there. You can see me quickly do the door. This is actually an interactable object, so it has 2 versions. Quickly do the floor here, this dusty brown color. Now we're moving on to the appliances, which were in blue over here. These are the things that you can actually interact with in the game, and they are furniture used to get rid of your Sim-style needs that you'll be managing in this game. Some of these items have multiple versions for the drawing. This TV is one of them, though only the screen changes, so we'll only see this one in redirect. This fridge is also one of them. You can see right here that we're drawing the open version of the fridge, just some kind of condiments, and inside is just a single block of cheese. I tried to really portray sort of like pathetic living situation. These two are the same item in my mind, these dishes and rubbish bin, because they just both are used to take out the trash. See me flatten the colors here. You see the shower heads in 2 pieces. This is because I want it to jiggle around while being used, so it's like extra bad. And you can see me flatten the colors for all of these. I've forgotten to draw the cupboard under the sink. I'll come back and do that later. And yeah, so we're just shading in the shower now, and the toilet and stuff. We will start rendering the TV and start seeing the screen stuff. It's just white noise. for a few frames. Um, I guess the only thing people look at or watching this universe is Candle Cove. And yeah, so we're just putting in the condiments. You can see I finally add the door to the sink after all this time. And now we're going to move on to the decorations, which is the stuff in purple. We're starting by just drawing the straight lines with a ruler. This stuff is not gameplay important, but it adds a lot of flavor to the apartment. Like these cans up here that are so high the character will never reach them. As though they're basically gone forever. Doing some appliances on the fridge because there's no space. Oh, I was wondering what to put here. I was thinking a mirror, but I ended up putting their diploma up there in the bathroom. I thought that was funny. Some toiletries here, Axe body spray, some tampons, toilet paper, just stuff like that. This extremely precarious light over there. It's pretty dangerous. I don't know how to draw cobweb. Okay, so this fish over here is really like, doesn't match the style of the rest of the apartment. I imagine it as like a gift that they got from like a family member or something like that. And it's doesn't match the aesthetic, but they put it up anyways because they don't own much things. I'm just doing the borders for this. Posters, we'll talk about that later. And we're coloring in all the things, diploma, light, the cupboard. Pretty standard, and now we're ready for the posters. So this first one's like a heavy metal type poster. You see this like demon type creature playing guitar. It's kind of cute because it's like main character is like a goat type character. So there's some like resonance there. Oh, you can see I decided to use like a Simlish type fake language here. I do drop this concept later, but it's fun for here. This is just like an album cover style thing. I did it because it was fast and easy to draw. Up here is like an anime style thing, like a DBZ type poster. This one came out really good, really fast. I'm pretty proud of that. And yeah, just going to put in the moon, and then we're going to put in text here. Yeah, looks pretty good. I tried to heighten it a bit using a gradient. Ended up finding something that I like. Now I'm just doing finishing touches on the poster, and we should be done with the decorations. Okay, so now we are starting with the character. This is a sort of goat boy character. I ended up calling Billy in my files, just kind of a stock name for a goat boy, which is this game is not gonna have that much characterization, so I thought it was apt. But yeah, they're just trying to make them to be like this extremely tired, giant bags under their eyes, sort of schlubby, like slacker type character. I have that nice loose hoodie on them. You might notice I'm making a lot of different parts for this. It's because this is the animation puppet I'm going to use to walk. So you need some extra articulation, especially for something this large on screen, especially around the knees to make them walk properly. Okay, so now I'm deciding how many other player sprites I need to have them like interact with the thing. You can see I drew one of him watching the TV and one of him on the toilet. You see I copy and paste the one on the TV to try to make this one that might interact with the trash here. I'm pretty happy with it, so I delete the earlier one because that will just be a variant of this. You can see myself putting the person on the bed to see if I need to draw a sleeping frame. I decide not, so I just draw a closed eye variant of the head there. Okay, we're finally lining in the toilet player right here. This one's my favorite one. Not for any weird reason, but because I just like them looking head on like that, and them being on their phone on the toilet is cute. This one's only in 4 parts, I believe, which is because they don't have to have that much animation on the toilet. They just kind of wiggle back and forth. And you have the glow of the phone. It's kind of cute. Yeah, I forgot their spots, so adding those in. So finally we have this back one. This back spray is used for a lot of different interactions, because it's very, very general. It's just sort of 5 pieces, I believe, that just kind of wave their arms with their back facing you, basically. Is the main thing. It gets the job done. And this is all the art I needed for the initial prototype of the game. I like to conceptualize game development as a series of prototype milestones. This will give us smaller goals to work with, and help us find the next thing we should be doing. For this project, I have 4 milestones. The first is to have a prototype where you can interact with every appliance and the door. The second is to have a prototype where the player can specialize and make their own build. The third is one where the game loop is complete, including the game getting harder as you play it. And the fourth is the complete project, with all the polish we choose to add. The first prototype will likely be the longest, since we're starting with a blank project. So let's get started with it. So we're creating the art. We're putting the art into the game. I start with a full image that I make transparent so I can use it as a guide to know where to put things. I'm making this door into its own scene, so it can have its own animation, and later when I add scripts to it, its own behavior that is slightly different. And you see I'm doing this with all the interactables. So the TV, we're making this on animation, the bed, the toilet, and the shower, which we have to do a bit more work animating. As I said, you can make this shower head rumble, and I'm trying to create the droplets. I try to use a gradient and an image, and then I just make a water droplet on my own. And here I'm just adjusting the values on the particle system to make it sort of look right. You can see that the water is going through the bottom there, so I reduce the time so it stays in the shower. And once it's looking good, I move on to making the character we'll be playing. Now, this character is rigged up here. You can see on the top there are the sprites, which are the actual images. And on the bottom here, I'm creating a rig such that when I move that chest node, for example, the neck and the head and the arms and all of that move with it to make it easier to animate. This requires some setup. You have to move the remote transforms down there in the rig, and also the anchor points for the sprites to the same place so they're synced. But the setup makes the animation a lot easier to do after you manage it. You can see me completing the setup right here, and we are able to animate it now. You can see me quickly animating this idle animation over here. You can see me moving on to a walk. Walks are pretty complicated to animate. You want to start with some root motions, so you can see I'm only moving the legs here, and the hip. The hip motion is really important. It's usually the thing you start with, and see, only legs, only hips. And now we're moving on to do the rest of it, now that that animation was acceptable enough for me. And now we have a full animation for the walk. Great. I quickly create a script for the animator, but it doesn't do much now. It just has a function where you can do the animation. You can see me do a collision onto the stage and creating a body for the player and moving this button over the interactables. This is all to create the movement system. We have this move towards object function, which basically takes an object and the player will move towards it until they get close enough, and then it will stop and do whatever behavior it needs to do at the item. Now, to get this to work, the sync, for example, would need to know where the player is, and we're using this through a bus. So a bus is just a thing that's loaded all the time, and when, for example, the player starts existing, it will tell the bus that, give a reference to what the player is. So basically anything can access anything else through the bus. You can see I'm making everything have this button now, everything that is interactable. You can see I'm putting some text at the top of the screen. This is to display the player state. This is just debug stuff. So you see I walk to the TV and it says TV. The player state will be used to do a lot of behavior later. You can see there are some issues with this demo. You can walk up to the TV perfectly fine. It says TV, but if you do the toilet, it just walks completely past and doesn't work. You can use the fridge, you can use the TV, you can't use the toilet. So what this actually was is because the object moves towards an object, what that object is actually the root of the scene. So the sprite and button were desynced from where the object its position it's actually giving is actually was. So you can see now that I can move everywhere, including the toilet after that fix. And now we're creating more UI. So we have this hunger. These are the needs bars. We're not having any behavior right now. We're just sketching in what they will look like on the actual screen. You can see me coloring all the UI here. I don't actually end up doing this using this. I end up coloring them through code. So you see right now I'm having a color dictionary, which I fill in with values from that guide I made just prior. And here we're deciding how the bars will look. Now the bars work off of this need class, which you see I'm creating here. It's just create a new need with the name, right? And the needs are small codes. They're just this. They have 2 values and a name, basically, right now. So you can see here I'm creating what happens when you click on an item, right? So based on your player state that we mentioned earlier, it will lower the need. So you can see here, the need state changes to TV and stress lowers. You can see these 2 pieces of text here. They're the same right now. They're both showing the player state. This isn't right. The bottom one should be showing what your mouse is currently over. And I spent a long time trying to figure out what caused this. Turns out I copy and pasted it from earlier and never removed the script, so it was overriding everything I was trying to make it do, and you can see it works properly now. And now we're moving on to creating the animations for the rest of the interacts. So you can see this backstrike, which is going to be used for the fridge and the trash I'm making, where you just wiggle the arms a bit. You can see me put in items so I can line up where you'll sit on the bed, where you'll sleep. Unfortunately, these end up being misaligned because the bed is a bit lower in the actual game than the way I put it here, but it was easy fix. You put the toilet here, have them wiggle around. This actually took a while because I needed the wiggling to be subtle, and like you don't want it to just be like gyrating on the toilet. You can see here, as I said, it's a little bit misaligned, but everything else is pretty good. Anything that's non-bed related. Here, when you took the TV, it looks like you're just standing in front of the TV. And I fixed the position. You can sleep the wrong way right now, but I fix that later. And we move on to more UI. This is the timer for the game. It tells you how much time you have left for work, and if you fail to go to work for in time, it gives you this warning, and if the warning passes, then you game over. So the animations in Godot can actually call functions. So you can see me calling the function late for work here. And late for work is right here. It calls the gamer director to do the game over function. The game over function changes the game state and then calls the UI to do their game over function. And the UI's game over function is right here. Just turns it invisible. And it's right under the original function. But why am I running this code in such a roundabout manner? So in this example, we have 2 scripts running code, the game director and the UI. Our entry point into the code is when the animation player calls the late for work function in the UI. Now, one thing we could do is include the UI's game over behavior as part of the late for work function. It would function identically right now, but it'd be short-sighted. There are going to be other ways to game over in the future, so we'll have to copy this text into a new function anyways, and maintain both separately. What we could also do is call the UI's game over function directly, without using the game director as a middleman. But this might result in confusing organization later on. See, a game over is a game event that may affect multiple things, and I want to keep behaviors for events like this and going to work, for example, in the same logical place, the game director. If we have the late for work function call both the UI's game over function and the director's function, if I need to fix something later related to game over, I'm going to have to look at both scripts to understand the full picture of what gaming over does. And I might not remember that I have to look at the UI script by the time I get back to this. Now, we just have to AFK for a bit here to test how the thing works, if it will give us game over, and boom, great placeholder art. Now, I'm working up the door a bit. I'm having a warning text, and then I'm having a leaving animation made, so we can see I can walk out the door now. And you can see if it's too early, I can play warning text up here that it's too early to leave. Here I'm creating the visuals for a sort of bar that tells you how much you're going to lose when you go to work, or how much your need is going to grow when you go to work. I end up doing this by having a transparent bar over the bar I have, so we have this little ghost bar afterwards. And you can see here there's the ghost bar, and that will tell you how much you are going to gain after you walk out the door. See here? That emotion, we have this nice tween for over 2 seconds. This took forever to do. This was because the tween was, it's like a inbuilt engine function that I didn't really know how it works, and it works in like kind of a weird way. This happens a lot when you're using an engine. You can see here I create a placeholder to get us back into the game after it's done. Also, I made the bars passively go up at some point. I can't find the footage for this. And yeah, we see me doing the return animation, and we have the full game loop now. You can see me putting in the days of the week, so you can go finally progress the days to Thursday, to Friday, to my favorite day, weekend. And yeah, basically this prototype is complete now. We can click on things and have them empty out our stats and play their animations. We have days of the week. We have a system where we can go outside and come back in when it's time for work. And this prototype is completely finished. I'm just going to drop this here. You might have noticed that I left a hole in the bathroom window while I was drawing it. This was because I wanted a graphic up there that changed with the time of day. I then forgot about that for the entire project, so here's me making it after the fact. It's just a gradient with a 1 second animation that goes from evening to night to morning, the non-work time. It's 1 second long because the time of day is variable, so what we end up doing is getting a function that gives us the percentage of remaining time left in the day. Then we set the time in the animation to that percentage every frame. It ends up looking like this. Now, I mentioned earlier that we had to pivot from the original idea of using furniture as a way to express a player build. But I still wanted the player to develop their own unique living situation through the mechanics of the game. I did this by using a common roguelike relic system, called many different things in many different roguelikes. These are items that are represented by an icon and a description. and give various passive buffs. I took specific inspiration for the presentation of this system from Bob Fish's Brotato and Megacrit's Slay the Spire. I call these items in my game. Okay, so we're drawing in our art for items. I'm starting with this chip bag, which is going to be used for the stress eater item. This item reduces your stress while you're eating, basically. And I chose this sort of desert-looking chip bag. Next, we're making a phone. This is actually used for 2 different items, which we will see shortly here. The first is night mode, which reduces your stress while you're sleeping, or while you're supposed to be sleeping, but you're just on your phone. You can see the orange tint. The next one is toilet memes, which will reduce your stress as well, but while you're on the toilet. You have great art of a toilet there. The next one is One Man's Treasure, I think, which is econ item based around taking the trash out, so you get money for taking out the trash. The econ items are pretty exciting because it kind of gives you a side gig in the game that you can use your extra time to do. This is the pace counter, I think, something like that. What it does is reduce your stress while you are walking, which is interesting because walking isn't one of the main appliances you have. For this art, I tried really hard on the screen to make it that sort of calculator type numbering system. That's like really of that digital era. Here I make soap. This affects the shower, believe it or not, and rubber ducky, which also affects the shower. Rubber ducky reduces your stress. The soap makes the shower more effective at cleaning you. I had a really hard time drawing this duck. I needed to look up reference, which I don't always do, but eventually I got it to a place where it was at least acceptable to me. Now you see me looking through the items and looking at this screen again. This is because I'm trying to think of ideas for items to make. I didn't plan this at all. I just kind of started drawing. And I'm drawing an item for the bed now, the alarm clock, which just makes sleeping in the bed more effective. And I go back to think about more ideas. The next one is going to be the TV guide, which makes the TV more effective. I went in on the idea that the white noise on the TV isn't an abstraction, they just watch white noise in this universe. And there's a guide about, the best white noise, I guess. Yeah, so we're looking for more ideas again. This is the first of the work-related items. This makes your bladder need go down a bit during work. And we are next the takeout item, which makes the fridge more effective. And another fridge item, the recycling item, which makes the fridge produce less trash, because the fridge is the source of trash in this game. You can see me take a attempt at making a sort of blanket fort one, where it's a work blanket fort. I end up going with this desk. I love blanket forts. I guess it comes with being a plushie. And back to the idea well. We have a shower item, which this is an econ item actually. This gets you money, and of course it's bathwater, which is a great side gig to do in the shower. And this is another econ item that we're getting here. This is just a laptop coming in here. But you see once I start making the screen here that this is a blog for static. So you just write about the best kinds of static and get paid for it, I guess. The ideas are hard to come by now. This is a fridge item, instant coffee, which reduces your tiredness while you're eating from the fridge. You can see here I've completely ditched the Simlish sort of fake language in the posters because just to make these items read better. Because like the bathwater joke wouldn't have worked if it was just Simlish, or it wouldn't work as well, at least. Now, you can see I'm running out of ideas here because I have another coffee right away. This is garbage coffee, which reduces your tiredness while taking out the trash. It has a fun trash tagline. It's trash. We are taking forever thinking about the final few here. These are sped up a lot. I just really racking my brain to think of ideas. This is kind of a gross one. This is for the TV. This is the empty bottle, which what it does is reduce your bladder while you are watching the TV. You can see I actually end up getting the TV motif of the static in on the label here, which is fun. The TV is definitely the only one that has a recurring motif, but it makes it unique. And forever thinking of ideas. What could I make? What could I possibly make? Turns out, it's the Slacker's Guide. This is another work item. This reduces your stress while you are at work. You can see the TV motif again. I originally spelled the word slacker wrong here, genuinely. And when I realized that, I wanted to put the C in a way that's like really lazy, to keep with the slacker theme. And we just have more thinking of ideas. Finally, I have Sweet Dreams. This was originally supposed to be an item that reduces stress while you are sleeping, but we actually already have an item that does that. Night mode, if you remember from earlier. So I ended up making this reduce your hunger while sleeping, which is fine because there's a food item in it. But it doesn't make a lot of literal sense. Where on the final ones, I've waited so long that I had to cut that one. This is the final one, flushing wrappers. You reduce your trash while on your toilet. Please don't flush wrappers down the toilet in real life. Okay, so now we're creating a dictionary to hold all the values associated with each item. So we have the name, the image, the loaded image that accompanies it, and a description, the value actually used to do its behavior. Eventually you'll see me add in flavor to the to this, see? And I wanted to make these like a advertising tagline. So for the clock you see here, I'm coming up with the tagline. Make sure you aren't too well rested. And I tried to make it sort of in that parody style. Okay, so here we're creating the icon and the pop-up, which will display when you mouse over the icon and give the description of the things. I wrote a quick and dirty function to give me every single item in the game. And you can see I have every item, and I can see their descriptions, but it's kind of messed up. You can see it's just saying value there, the text wrapping is wrong. If you go to the edge of the screen, it just goes off of the screen. We're going to fix the screen one first. So you can see here I'm printing out some functions to get a idea of what they do. I'm getting the mouse position function, so you can see while I move the mouse down here, I get the XY of where my mouse is. And I'm getting the viewport size function and seeing what that does, which always outputs the size of the viewport. So with these two, I'm able to do a little bit of math and make it so when the pop-up is outside of the screen, it just gets translated so it's on the screen again. See? Now let's do the value issue. So I put the value here so it can change with the actual value. You can see me putting in the script right here. uses a replace function, and it doesn't work at all. Now, I took a long time trying to figure out why this didn't work, and the thing is, I had to press description equals. This is because the replace function doesn't affect the string it's called from. It returns a string that has the replaced words. So to illustrate what went wrong here, we'll create two functions, using a number instead of a string for simplicity's sake. The top function is what I thought the replace function did. Compute an answer, then assign it to the original variable. Instead, it does what the bottom function does. Compute an answer, then return the answer, leaving the original variable unchanged. Now, it works perfectly. And every time I change this value, the description will change too. Now I'm creating an money system, so you can see the money UI there. I'm creating this shop, which is actually used to be the placeholder for the work screen. And you can see right now I'm just deciding what it will kind of look like. And soon I'm going to make this button its own scene right here and start defining its behavior and populating all of its fields, its cost, its title, its body. And it uses the dictionary from earlier to do that. Here I'm creating the reroll functionality to this menu, where you press the button and for a flat cost you reroll all the things. And you can see this menu is really big for some reason when I test it. And none of the buttons work. So this is because the game over placeholder is actually playing first. So we need to make it not play. Not open the menu if you get a game over. Here's how it works if you don't get a game over. It opens up and you can click on these things and buy them, quote unquote. Though it's still pretty buggy right now. You can see that if you look at the top right, the money is allowing you to go to the negatives. Now, I do have a thing that checks the cost of the items, this function here, but it's not being called at all moments. It needs to be called whenever any button is pressed or the reroll button is pressed. So I create a function in the parent that checks every single button whenever any of these things happen. And you can see now that I can buy our good friend Stress Eater over here, and everything blacks out and we can't press it anymore, which is good. Now we have to create the thing that actually puts it into our inventory, and we have that. Now we're doing functionality. This is Sweet Dreams. Sleeping also reduces hunger, and you can see me sleeping, and my hunger is not reduced at all. Now, it took me a while to find out what the issue was, and it was because I was checking for instant coffee instead of the actual item that we were trying to find every time. So now that I test this, I test it with instant coffee, of course, which would have worked always. And you can see that my sleep goes down while I'm eating. Definitely is going down. See? It went down. Okay. So now I'm changing the UI for the money to be $, so it's less large. You can see I changed it in the UI, but because I didn't change it in the script, when I get any money, my money instantly goes back to saying money instead. I just have to change that to $, and that's fine. Yay! And it works. Anyways, now I'm starting to test all of the items to make sure that they work. This is a very iterative process of changing the values and seeing if they work. Now here we have the game prototype mostly complete. The items are pretty implemented, and we start to kind of get bigger parts of the game, like the build. Here you can see me getting multiple of these Stress Eaters and this instant coffee, and basically I'm making a build around using the fridge right here. So the game is getting pretty complete to the point where you can think about gameplay builds and stuff like that. So I can just eat from this, infinitely eat from this fridge and be fine using this build. More stress eater is always good. And yeah, this wasn't as much work as the first part of the game, creating it, but it definitely adds so much more nuance to the gameplay to finally have this build. You can see I got trash stuff too, because you always have to deal with trash when you use the fridge, and it seems like this prototype is completely done.
Finally reached my break. So where were we? Right. So, we've now made a game about having a bad job, but not an increasingly terrible job. We need a mechanic to make it harder to just survive. Something apocalyptic. The vagaries and unexpected, as far as the eye, are threats that give you warning before they activate, giving you time to prepare. We'll be using a similar system here, but instead of natural disasters, it will be increasingly hostile working conditions. I'm calling these dooms.
So the first time I recorded my art program, I only recorded the top 2/3 of the screen. While this was bad, it's nothing compared to what I did this time. So you see I've recorded the right screen, but I've recorded the recording of my recording of that screen. Let's just zoom in here and perfect. So I'm going to start by doing a seal at the background for all the dooms, and then start the first doom, which is overtime, which basically gives you less time at home to do things. Next thing I'm going to do is health initiative, which makes you stressed whenever you eat food. Similar to that, the next thing I'm going to do is dream of productivity, which makes you stressed this time instead whenever you go to sleep. Next thing I'm going to do is pay cut, which is kind of self-explanatory. You get paid less. Now there's mandatory standing, which is you get tired while walking at home. And at this point, something funny happened with the recording. So on the screen I was recording on, I alt-tabbed into the game to check something, and it's like this for the rest of the recording. So I don't have footage of the last few. Last few being increased responsibility, which increases your stress whenever you come home from work. Filthy surroundings, which increases the stress, or the dirtiness rather, gained from work, the shower need. There's corporate crap, which constantly makes trash build up over time passively, which it does not usually do. And no bathroom breaks, which makes you come home from work with a extreme bladder need. So the dooms need to be put into a dictionary like the items. I did this by copy and pasting an item key and using it as a guide. First we replace the icon, and I'm going to use the icon's file name to replace the name and the key of the dictionary. And while items and dooms do very different things in the game, their data structure is basically identical. So all we have to do is fill in these fields for all 9 of the dooms, which you can see me do right now. So we're making the icon for the dooms. I do this by replacing the items icon and choosing where we are going to put it in the menu. You can see it stretched out there, but it's supposed to go down like this. Here I'm making the inactive version of the doom. Dooms take a week to activate so that you can read them and react to them with your build. So you can see the things are working, though the formatting is kind of weird and I didn't like it. So I ended up taking out the flavor text for these icons. Turns out that the formatting was weird because I had pressed enter so I could see the entire string on my screen, but that saved it as a line break inside the string. I fixed it eventually. So you can see the trash building up from one of our dooms. For the sleeping doom, you can see that my stress is building up while I'm sleeping. This one didn't work right away, increased responsibilities. You can see that my stress is basically the same as it usually is. This was because I was increasing the dirtiness value, which in this function does nothing at this point. Now that I'm increasing the stress value instead, you can see I have a big ghost stress bar, which takes up more than half the bar. So that's working. For overtime, it was a pretty simple test. I started a soft wash and I AFK'd. It usually takes 30 seconds for a day to complete on normally, so if it takes less than that, it works. And it works. Pay cut is similarly easy to get. I just went to work, and usually you make $15 every time you go to work. Instead, you make 10. It works fine. So now we're building the UI for showing off the dooms. This is simply made up of a name, a body, a flavor, and an icon, all taken from that dictionary I made earlier. And yeah, I just try to make this as pretty as I can, and we can move on. You can see it in action here. It looks pretty good, but it does line up with the menu under it, which is kind of a nitpick I don't like. I end up fixing this. It's not too hard of a thing to fix. We have to go make inactive dooms go to active now. And we do this by checking if it's Monday in the whenever we advance the day, and if it is, we activate the doom. So you can see it's the weekend, and I leave the door, and once I've done this menu, it's Monday, and the doom is active. Perfect. Now the game is pretty much gameplay complete at this point. You have this increasing difficulty that you can build around and will eventually activate.
At least work is finally over. And our game is finally complete, as far as gameplay is concerned. The only thing left to do now is the game overs. Now, this could be done easily with a simple game over or you win screen. But I wanted to use this space to add a little bit more character to this game, with each type of ending being its own unique game over screen. I decided to do this with illustration with a tiny little story for each ending. Let's see how that went.
So it's kind of an understatement to say that I've been having some issues recording my art programs. We all remember the recording of the recording. So when I went to record my endings, it ended up like this. It's just this screen for the entire length of the footage. Oh, it's probably going to be easy to recreate the footage. You just draw the goat like this, and then hit the effect, and boom! Yay! Okay, let's just talk about the endings. This one happens when you are too late for work. You end up missing the train, and you text your boss, and your boss is like, you either show up here or you're fired. And you debate whether it's even worth trying to keep your job anymore, and you decide to just go home. This ending plays when you get too hungry, you go to work and fight your coworkers over the last snack bar in the break room, and you get fired and possibly go to court. This one plays when you have too much of a bladder need, you wet yourself at work, and you are bullied so badly by your coworkers that you are eventually forced to quit. This plays when you have too much stress, you end up skipping work for one day and then multiple days, and eventually, when you check your phone, you're surprised to see that you're not actually fired, and you're still even getting your paycheck. And you decide how best to spend this gift. This is what happens when you have too much of a sleep need. You end up falling asleep at work, and you have a dream where you talk to your mother, and when you wake up, you realize you've been sleepwalking because you've signed your resignation letter. This is what happens when you have too much trash. You come home to see a giant roach digging through your garbage, but you talk to the roach and it turns out he's pretty sweet, so actually you made a new friend. You're then fired from your job for being a roach friend. This is what happens when you have too much dirtiness. You are fired from your job for being too smelly, and on the way home, you meet a skunk who doesn't mind how you smell, and you make a new friend as well. This is what happens when you win. You survive 4 months, and your boss gives you a promotion, and while it has better pay and benefits, you have to wear business clothes, which are really uncomfortable for you, and the work is really stressful, and you just think that if you could hold out a bit more, maybe you could get another promotion.
Now, it might be a good idea to take a break once in a while you're creating and think about what your art might be saying. Because while an author might make curtains red just because they wanted to, it doesn't mean that ideology can't leak through subconsciously. Perhaps they wanted to make the curtains red because, for their entire life, curtains have always been red. And they're raised in a society where curtains that aren't red aren't considered real curtains. In this case, the author is subconsciously supporting the values in which they take for granted.
I've organized the ending into negative, neutral, and positive so we can better analyze them. Winning the game being bad was very intentional. You succeed by the metrics of the game, but fictionally your reward leaves you in basically the same place you started, with little hope of getting out of this cycle. The game overs, on the other hand, I simply wrote off the cuff. But what do they say when looked at as a whole? Right now we have a very even mix of negative, positive, and neutral endings. But if we group the endings based on if they're caused by physical or mental needs, we end up seeing a pretty strong trend. I think this shows that subconsciously I view cultural pressure on taking care of your body as more reasonable, and mental or social mandates as unreasonable. But we can get more specific here. When you fall asleep, you aren't caught by your boss and fired. And when you fail to go to work from too much stress, you aren't fired at all. These are cases where feared expected outcomes don't come to pass. These things can happen, but as an author I'm making the unlikely happen, 'cause I probably think that someone shouldn't be punished for not getting enough sleep, or for getting too stressed out. There are, of course, a lot of other things we can look into. How social is a need present in The Sims, but is omitted from this game, and how meeting people is a major positive force in 2 of the positive endings, while in 2 of the negative endings, they are characterized by bad social interactions. But ultimately, I'm happy enough with what the game is saying, so we can move on. Okay, so we need to turn the game over placeholder into a proper game over screen. We're just doing this with an icon and a body and a title, and of course the continue button, which we have to give some behavior. We're going to do this through a restart function in the game director, which restarts everything inside the entire game. So you can hear me sketching it out here, and then we just have to add a restart function to every single thing that needs to be set back to 0, as it were. And you can see here us testing it out, and we just press the continue button, and we just press, I'm pressing the continue button. Okay, it took me a while to figure this one out. And just in the middle of testing, I realized that it was because the game was paused. And you see this process down here determines how a node acts while paused. And we need to set it to the always thing so that it can be unpaused while the game is paused, so it can unpause the game. You can see it working now here. We now unpause the game, but the game didn't seem to restart. So it took a little bit of bug fixing, but eventually I was able to get the game to actually restart. You can see here. Though it has a little bit of quirks. At the end of the day, you can see the stress going down to the thing rather than up from 0. To fix this, I actually had to make the game wait before restarting. This was because that when you leave for work, the bar tweens up, and it wasn't done tweening yet. So it was just overriding whatever I set it to, which caused that behavior. Now, we are creating the dictionary for the endings. You've seen me do this a few times at this point, and it's not that much different. This time, just refill all of the fields with ones relevant, and do that to all of the endings. This is what the menu looks like actually populated, and I'm going to test out what it looks like here. Boom. It works, but it's a little abrupt, just showing up like that. So we're going to create a game over screen before showing the game over menu. And this is just a quick text and blacked out screen that transitions into it. You can see it here. Game over. And you might see that subtitle, "You Got Too Hungry." Obviously that is specific for hunger. But since we already have these dictionaries related to each ending, we just need to add this warning field and populate it, and it should be very easy to change that for whichever game over you get. You see me testing here. We have got the trash game over. You can see me get the sleep game over right here. Seems to work fine. Now we're going to try to be late. Looks like this one works fine too. Except after I hit continue and I restart the game and it still tells me it's time for work, and I end up getting a second game over. This was actually fixed by making the animation player play itself with a different animation after it's done that animation. And you can see now, even if I sleep through my alarm clock and I'm late for work, that I can lose and start a new game without it being all messed up. And we can test the bladder loss now. And for the last two, I decided to just cheat the stress gain. So this one is for stress, so this should go a little bit faster. Let's see, it looks like that worked. And this one is for dirtiness. Yep, looks like that one worked as well. And of course, the win ending, which works perfectly fine. And with that, that's all of the endings. Balance is a hard bit of design for a developer to grasp right away. The question I think it's important to ask is, what do you want your balance to accomplish? This helps us avoid the trap of attempting perfect balance, which is not only time-consuming, but might actually work against your design goals. For this game, I wanted items to create different living strategies and routines for the player. So a player will eventually specialize in using certain appliances more and more as the game continues. To achieve this, we need two things. Items must be powerful enough to significantly change your routine over the course of the game, and different build paths need to be viable enough that the player will choose one over others based on the situation. Now, the best way to balance will always be iterating off play data, but you have to start somewhere. I decided for need-fulfilling items, which make up the majority of all items, we base their value off of a fraction of their corresponding appliance values. So for a stress reducing item, it will be based on how much the TV reduces stress. The fractions won't be equal between needs as well. Needs that deplete slower, like stress, will have a higher fractional value of 1/4. And needs that deplete quickly, like bladder, will have a lower fractional value of 1/8. This should allow someone to replace the need to use the TV at all if they get 4 items to fill it instead, which is likely to happen around the middle of the game if they're lucky enough. And for quickly defeating bars like hunger or bladder, 2 or 3 items are usually enough. I wanted to give extra value to items that buff an appliance's native need reduction, like an alarm clock buffing the bed's sleep reduction, so I made them twice as strong. This ensures that a build that actually uses the appliance will always be better at fulfilling that specific need. Paired with the do mechanic, which can make some needs very important, this should encourage players to try out different builds for different situations. For items that give you money, I just tested and adjusted each one. The TV is easy to earn with, since stress is something you almost always need to spend time getting rid of. So I gave it the worst cash per minute. On the other hand, trash is really hard to fit in your day, so it makes a lot more money. And with that, the game is finished. You might have noticed that I haven't talked about one aspect yet, which is sound. Right now the game is completely mute. I could do a quick job of adding pre-made sound effects and a music loop, but I think I prefer to keep it mute for now. That way we can give it a more in-depth sound treatment later on, maybe with its own video? But that's something to deal with at a later date. With all this done now, let's see how this game actually plays. Okay, so now that the game is complete, we can try a playthrough of it. The first day of this game is always pretty similar. You want to get your bars down so you don't have to deal with them later. And generally you do the same things, basically in the same order. You eat food and deal with your things, probably left to right, or right to left because you start on the left. You can see I take increased responsibilities, or I don't take it, I'm given increased responsibilities as my doom. So I want to do stuff that affects my stress a lot better, because stress is going to be a big issue in a week. You can see I'm taking Sweet Dreams, which removes the hunger while I'm sleeping. I might be going for a sleeping build if I can get it, though it's just too early to hard commit to one build. Yeah, just take out the trash and go to work. So I have a few things. No sleeping stuff, or things that affect the bed. Death Nap does make you less tired. So I take Slacker's Guide. That reduces your stress when you come home, which is good because we are going to have a lot of stress from our first Doom. Making sure the stress doesn't build up too much here. And taking bathroom breaks. The bladder need fills up really fast, so it's a thing that you will constantly need to be dealing with. Though, an easier way to deal with this is by getting the empty bottle here, which I'm looking at, and this will make the bladder go down while watching TV. So I don't have to deal with my bladder while watching TV. Though right now it's not really emptying my bladder. You see it's going down really slowly because I have only one bottle right now. So I will probably need to actually use the toilet still, rather than just purely peeing in the bottle. My leftmost stats are a little bad here as I go off to work, but we can catch them up. You can see I end up taking the naps because I want to just reduce the time that I need to sleep. Since we're not getting the sleeping build going, I just want to spend as much time on the TV as possible. That's my sort of goal right now. though. I do need to take a break to deal with my bladder and my showering. So, we have a few things in here. Rubber ducky reduces stress while you're in the shower, though, which we're not spending a lot of time in the shower, but it could help. So I end up taking it. And we're back to another normal day here. Just sleeping and going to the bathroom and spending as much time as we can to watch TV. And so now I realize it's the weekend, because this day isn't almost already over, which the weekend is really good time to catch up on your stats that might have built up, your needs rather, that have built up over the day. And it's a good time to do a side gig if you have one, if you have a money earning item. I don't right now, so we're just so I actually end the weekend early because all my bars were 0 and there wasn't anything to do. I end up taking bath water here, which you know, I really wanted to do stuff with the shower, I guess. I do have the rubber ducky, which is nice. Now we want to spend as much time as we can in the shower, because every 6 seconds or so we will be getting $1 from just being in the shower. This ends up being kind of risky because I am going to let my stats or my needs kind of build up a little bit, so I'm allowed to spend more time in the shower. Now we have night mode here, which is something I wanted right away, which lets the bed restore its stress. You can see here I'm losing a little bit of stress. I'm really feeling increased responsibilities right now. I can see that stress is already like lethal, as it were. It's already it's a failure state, and I'm spending time and I can't bring the stress down. And it's here where I'm realizing that this might be an issue. I'm re-rolling to get something to save me. I get the bath water so I can get more money from the shower, though I don't know exactly if I'm going to have that much time to shower. Maybe on the weekends we can make a little money from the shower, but looks like I'm just sitting on this TV watching it all day. And I'm not really dealing with my other needs. This increased responsibility is really rough for me right now. And it's only Wednesday. So I get the alarm clock so I can spend less time sleeping. Similarly with the death nap. Because sleeping takes up a long amount of time right now because it it makes the bar go down slowly. So I quickly have to deal with my dirtiness because I was at a losing point. And now I just need to hope that I can get rid of enough stress to not die right now. I might have to run out the timer. Okay, we're not dead. Okay, so here I have a few things. I have the slacker guide. I really don't want more stress, so that will probably help. Trash is big, but I can't deal with it right now. I just need to deal with my stress. It's basically the thing I need to focus on at the expense of everything else. Thankfully this is Friday, so as long as I get through today without losing, I'll have the weekend to regain my stress. Or to deal with all my needs, not just stress. And I managed to do it. Another day survived. That slacker guide is really tempting, and I pick it up. Now that's the weekend, I just need to empty out all my stats. All my stats are basically at the point where I'm going to lose from them. But we have extra time, so we shouldn't worry too much. I'm going to spend most of my days on this TV. Despite me having stress reduction items on the bed and the shower, I just don't have enough of them for them to be better than the TV yet. So right now I'm spending extra time in the shower so I can earn money. You can see I have $2 every time the thing procs. And just more time on the TV. I'm going to deal with my hunger right before I go outside. Now, really have to make something work with the stress. So I'm getting the TV guide because I'm just not getting the rubber duckies and other things I need. So I'm just going to make the TV more effective because I've basically given up on relieving my stress through sleeping or showering. It's just too much stress because of that doom there. And you can see my filthy workplace is triggered now, which means my showering need is really high. Now, it's not the worst thing in the world because the shower is really well built for us. It makes us a little bit of money, which is nice. Our impending doom is no bathroom breaks, so we have 3 dooms that just really increase our needs when we come home. So we're going to have a lot of those ghost bars to deal with. I'm going to shower now because I almost lost from not showering. Then I'm going to watch TV. Again, the 1 empty bottle is not enough to empty my bladder, so I have to do that manually, so I don't lose. The bladder might be an issue after the no bathroom breaks doom finally triggers. But let's see if we can find a way to deal with that. So I end up picking up Sweet Dreams here because it will let me fulfill some hunger on the bed, which I'm still using the bed kind of a lot. And I pick up the showering soap because dirtiness is a real issue for us now because of filthy workplace, where usually it wouldn't be a thing you worried that much just because of how slowly dirtiness usually builds up. Now we're going off to work, and I'm going to pick up more shower equipment. I'm debating whether I want soap or not, because since I have bath water, showering for a long time isn't the worst idea in the world. And the duckies, but really I just need more time to watch TV. It's kind of just a thing I need to do, and dirtiness is an issue now because of how much I get from work. So getting rid of it faster is a lot better. I'm debating to getting more bath water, and I do. I'm going hard on trying to econ with bath water, even though I can't spend that much time showering. I definitely spend more time showering now just to deal with my dirtiness need, but it isn't quite that profitable right now. Now we're heading into the weekend here, so this is pretty good. I consider One Man's Treasure because so I can get some money this weekend, but I end up getting the takeout to reduce my hunger faster. And this weekend we'll probably spend quite a lot of time in the shower to build up our money after we're finished with our other stats. Here I kind of zone out and try to use the TV to get rid of the bladder, even though it's easier to use the toilet. I finally get into the shower and start earning that lucrative bathwater money. Another $3. Eventually I'm going to have to use the toilet. And just clean up the rest of my needs before work. I want the ducky. I'm debating if I want the bottle or not. And I take it. 2 bottles will let me actually get rid of my bladder. Love the alarm clock. Spend less time sleeping, more time doing other things. So now we have that huge bladder need at the bottom because that doom is activated. So we need to make sure that we have no bladder when we go to work, basically, because bladder fills up so quickly it could easily game us over. We're doing this by ending our days by watching TV. Because of our 2 bottles, it'll make sure our bladder is at 0. I'm rerolling to find something else I like. Slacker's Guide is always good. I end up getting Sweet Dreams instead. I watched the TV to try to remove the bladder, but then realized it's not fast enough. Yeah, not with 2 bottles. It can keep the bladder down, and it can remove part of the bar, but I don't trust it to remove the entire bar, just from watching TV. But I am zeroing out my stress, which is pretty great. All those Slacker guides and the white noise, and the TV guide, rather, it says white noise on the icon, are really working out. And I'm using my my sweet dreams to reduce my hunger while I'm sleeping. And again, just reducing my stress, showering to 0, bladdering to 0, staying on the TV just to keep my bars down for bladder. Do I pick up this? Yeah, you can see me pick up the extra bottle. Hopefully this will let me actually just use the TV as a toilet completely. That's a funny sentence. And you can see here, the TV has successfully become a toilet. Just making sure our stats stay low enough that we don't lose. This is the final stretch. After this week, we'll have survived the game, and we get the win screen. You just need to survive a month, so 3 dooms in total. And since all 3 tombs are activated, we know this is the last week. Again, showering. I didn't end up using the bathwater that effectively this time around. I really needed more duckies, and we win. So and we get the promotion ending, which is, I think, one of the worst endings.
I don't think it's easy to leave a bad job. Many times you're in a situation where you just have to put up with stuff to make rent or fulfill social obligations. But I also don't think there's any glory in suffering through the horrible conditions your employer is putting you through. You might need to put up with it in the short term, but you should always be looking for a way out. Staying doesn't make you strong, it only shows your employers that they're allowed to abuse you. Sweet! Thanks for watching the whole video. Funnily enough, this video took longer for me to make than the game. If you're interested in playing the game, you can find a link in the description below, posted on my itch. Speaking of which, you can follow me there, or subscribe to me here on YouTube to keep in touch with anything else I might make. If you're interested in supporting me in making these games and videos, check out my Ko-fi. Okay, bye!